Imagine walking into a facility the size of several football fields, where the warm scent of roasting coffee greets you at every corner. You might think you know what instant coffee is. A quick, convenient cup that keeps you going through busy mornings or late-night study sessions. But behind each jar of Nescafe lies a vast, carefully orchestrated operation. One that transforms humble green coffee beans into a product consumed over 1 billion times a day. This is the story of how it all happens, from the moment those beans arrive on the factory floor to the final seal of every jar. Yet, it's also a story with hidden twists and controversies that many coffee drinkers have never heard. Buckle up, you're about to discover the remarkable process that brings instant coffee from distant farms straight into your kitchen cupboard. The journey begins the moment towering trucks rumble through the gates, each hauling enormous sacks of green coffee beans. These beans often come from the fertile fields of Brazil, Vietnam, or other coffee-rich nations, some of the biggest suppliers for the global coffee market. Workers and inspectors watch closely as high-tech machines unload the cargo, scanning everything for acceptable moisture levels and signs of damage. No human muscle is required to lift these heavy loads. A specialized robotic arm gently grips each sack before placing it onto an extendable conveyor belt. The efficiency is stunning. Every minute, more sacks pass through the line, ready to be tested, processed, and eventually turned into the product that millions rely on for a quick caffeine jolt. As each sack glides along, it's not only about moving beans from point A to point B. A built-in sensor system, hidden along the conveyor, measures the humidity within each batch. If any bag doesn't pass, it's swiftly diverted. This step might seem mundane, but it's crucial. Too much moisture can lead to mold growth or unpleasant flavors. Only well-preserved, properly dried beans can withstand the next phases without compromising taste or quality. Once the sacks are approved, another device plunges a probe inside selected bags, grabbing samples to be sent off for the next round of tests. This extra layer of scrutiny helps catch potential inconsistencies, ensuring every bean is up to the brand's standards. When the beans finally reach the main processing area, the sacks are sliced open and the contents flow into a massive sifting machine. Vibrating floors shake out any leftover debris or tiny twigs that may have hitched a ride from the farms. The beans rattle and dance, sorting themselves by size, shape, and density. Any undersized or broken pieces get separated, while the rest move onward, one step closer to their dramatic transformation. For those who've only ever scooped instant coffee out of a jar, it's an eye-opening sight. Thousands upon thousands of perfect green coffee beans, swirling about in a mechanical ballet that sets the stage for the factory's next act. Before things heat up, literally, there's a special group of people with an extraordinarily fine-tuned sense of taste. Often called cuppers, these individuals are responsible for sampling brews made from the bean batches. Critics have joked that they have superhuman abilities because they can pick up subtle variations in acidity, aroma, and flavor that would fly under most people's radar. The slightest imperfection in a batch can mean an entire truckload of beans is rejected. This might seem extreme, but it demonstrates the brand's strict commitment to uniformity. With so many jars sold worldwide, a single flawed batch could shatter consumer trust. The cuppers sip from multiple samples daily, sometimes reaching up to 100 cups in a single session, carefully swirling the coffee in their mouths, then spitting it out to avoid an overwhelming caffeine rush. Only after this rigorous taste test do they give the green light for the beans to begin the all-important roasting phase. Roasting is where the magic really begins. Gigantic drums, often heated to temperatures that can soar between 370 and 540 degrees Fahrenheit, roughly 188 to 282 Celsius, stand ready. When the beans tumble inside, powerful paddles keep them in constant motion. This ensures each bean receives a consistent amount of heat from all sides, preventing scorching. The entire roast can last anywhere from 8 to 20 minutes, depending on the flavor profile the factory aims to achieve. Lighter roasts typically remain in the drum for less time, retaining more acidity and caffeine, while darker roasts develop a fuller-bodied flavor, albeit at the cost of some caffeine content. It's a delicate balance, and operators watch the temperature carefully. A A few minutes difference can mean the contrast between a pleasantly robust brew and a burnt disappointment. When the roasting timer is up, the beans spill into a large cooling tray. Powerful fans beneath the tray blow cool air upward, rapidly bringing the temperature down so the roasting process halts at precisely the right moment. Mechanical arms slowly stir the beans, helping them cool evenly and preventing any from continuing to roast once they're out of the drum. Step too far in one direction, and you risk a burnt taste. Cut it too short, and you may miss that perfect aroma. After a few minutes, the beans are stable enough to move on. The entire operation feels almost like a well-rehearsed performance, with each stage timed down to the second. With roasting completed, the factory's high-tech equipment gears up for what might be the most critical transition, turning whole roasted beans into a fine powder and, ultimately, into instant coffee. First, an industrial coffee mill grinds the beans into a coarse powder. The roar of this machinery can be deafening, yet among the workers there's a noticeable excitement. Everyone knows that the next steps, spray drying or freeze drying, are where these ground beans become the instant granules people scoop into mugs every day. It's almost like watching raw ingredients morph into something entirely new. Steam, pressure, and a dash of scientific precision come together to brew the powdered coffee into a strong extract, which is then funneled along diverging paths depending on the final product's requirements. For Nescafe's classic or original lines, the coffee extract often enters a towering spray-drying chamber. This facility is enormous, built to accommodate a high-pressure nozzle that sprays the extract in a fine mist. Simultaneously, scorching air, reaching temperatures around 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit, 537 Celsius, and blasting at hundreds of miles per hour, instantly evaporates the moisture from each droplet. It's a near instantaneous process. Within seconds, you have dry particles falling to the bottom of the chamber, ready to be collected as a fine powder. This is in essence what we recognize as instant coffee. It can dissolve quickly in water precisely because these particles are so small and lightweight. The entire procedure is a feat of both engineering and chemistry, designed for maximum speed and efficiency. Meanwhile, the premium lines, like the often praised Nescafe Gold, rely on freeze drying to capture flavors and aromas more vividly. After the same initial brewing, the extract is condensed into a thicker, syrupy substance. This goopy coffee concentrate is then cooled in a special freezing tunnel, set to a bone-chilling -58 degrees Fahrenheit, around -50 Celsius. Under these sub-zero conditions, the concentrate solidifies into a large sheet of coffee ice. Next, a rotating blade shaves or breaks the sheet into tiny particles. These frozen granules are placed into a low-pressure environment. When they're gently heated, the ice transitions directly from a solid to a gas, sublimation, bypassing any liquid stage. This phenomenon preserves far more of the coffee's natural aromatic compounds. By the end, what remains are light, airy granules that dissolve smoothly in your cup, releasing a rich, nuanced flavor. It's a more time-consuming process, but many coffee lovers swear by the superior taste and aroma it delivers. Once the coffee granules are perfected, be they spray-dried or freeze-dried, they must be packaged. Assembly lines stretch out like highways, each lane lined with empty jars zooming toward filling stations. In mere fractions of a second, a nozzle dispenses the exact amount of coffee into each jar, which is immediately sealed to lock in freshness. Quality control is relentless. Cameras and sensors check the fill levels, ensuring that every jar meets precise weight requirements. In some factories, an astonishing 300 or more jars are filled per minute, resulting in hundreds of thousands of sealed containers by the end of each day's run. Automated arms cap and label the jars, then route them to shipping pallets bound for stores around the world. By the time you see these jars on supermarket shelves, the entire journey, from green beans to a jar of glossy granules, might have taken only a matter of weeks. That whirlwind transformation, however, isn't the full picture. Beyond the spotless corridors and shiny machinery, controversies and speculations have followed Nescafe and instant coffee in general for years. One recurring debate centers on how the coffee is sourced. Critics have alleged that large corporations sometimes underpay farmers or place huge demands on agricultural workers that can drive smaller producers out of business. Rumors about labor conditions have occasionally surfaced, prompting calls for better transparency. Environmental activists also question whether certain farming practices contribute to deforestation or water shortages in coffee-growing regions. Of course, these are complex issues, and the official stance from companies like Nestlé is that they work diligently to maintain ethical and sustainable sourcing practices. Still, the sheer size of the global coffee empire makes it challenging to quell every doubt. Another point of contention is the difference in taste and health value between instant coffee and freshly brewed coffee. Some purists claim that instant varieties strip away the intricate flavors and beneficial compounds naturally found in coffee beans. Others argue that improvements in freeze-drying technology have narrowed this gap, making instant coffee not only convenient, but also surprisingly close in taste to a freshly brewed cup. On the health front, people wonder about how the high heat processes affect antioxidants, or if instant coffee somehow has more or less caffeine than a standard brew. The reality is that instant coffee often retains a significant share of coffee's original antioxidants and has a caffeine level roughly comparable to a regular cup, though specifics vary by brand and blend. Nevertheless, occasional myths swirl online, suggesting instant coffee is either too weak to be effective or so processed that it loses all nutritional value. Scientific studies indicate that neither extreme is entirely accurate, but once rumors catch fire on social media, they can be hard to dispel. One especially intriguing aspect is Nescafe's role in shaping global coffee culture. Before instant coffee became widely available, brewing coffee could be time-consuming. It was a process that required fresh beans or grounds, a method of brewing, and, of course, patience. But as instant coffee gained popularity, it changed the way the world consumes caffeine. Travel anywhere, airports, office break rooms, college dorms, and you'll likely find single-serving sachets or jars of instant coffee. The convenience factor is undeniable. Yet some critics claim this approach reduces coffee to a mere commodity, removing some of its artisanal allure. Others see it as a democratizing force, making coffee accessible to people who lack the time or resources to brew fresh. Love it or hate it, there's no denying that instant coffee has reshaped the morning routines of countless individuals around the globe. As the world grows more conscious about sustainability, new questions are being raised about how companies like Nestlé plan to adapt. Climate change threatens many coffee-growing regions, as rising temperatures and unpredictable rainfall can lower crop yields or invite pests. Scientists have warned that without shifts in agricultural practices, the land suitable for coffee farming might shrink dramatically in the coming decades. Meanwhile, consumer demand for transparency and ethically sourced products is on the rise, pressuring big brands to prove they're part of the solution rather than perpetuating problems. Some speculate that future coffees could be grown in controlled environments or rely on genetically modified beans to withstand harsher climates. Others wonder if alternative beverages or lab-created compounds that mimic coffee flavor could eventually disrupt the industry. While these ideas may sound futuristic, the coffee sector has undergone radical changes before. So who's to say what might happen next? At this point, however, the instant coffee we recognize is still going strong. Once the jars are filled, sealed, and labeled, they're packed onto crates and shipped out. Every day, these crates fan out to distribution centers, then onto local stores, where shelves are lined with row upon row of identical glass or plastic containers. Perhaps you've reached out for one yourself, scooping a few spoonfuls into hot water for an immediate hit of caffeine. It's a familiar routine, performed by so many across the globe that it almost feels automatic. Yet within that brief ritual lies the entire backstory. The farmers who picked red coffee cherries by hand or by machine, the factories that roasted the beans at precise temperatures, the technicians who tested for perfect moisture levels, and the marketing teams that convinced billions of people that instant coffee was both cool and indispensable. All these facets merge into that one single moment when you stir your cup. This remarkable success, however, can't be separated from the brand's ongoing efforts to address social and ecological concerns. Nestlé has published sustainability goals, pledging to reduce waste, cut water usage and invest in more environmentally friendly packaging. It has sponsored training programs for farmers to improve crop resilience and reduce chemical inputs. While progress is visible in some areas, critics claim more needs to be done, especially given the colossal scale of production. Navigating these gray areas isn't simple, and the public often sees contradictory reports. Some laud the company's efforts and philanthropic programs, while others highlight the gap between corporate ambitions and real-world changes on farms. What's clear is that for a company selling over 1 billion cups of coffee daily, even minor improvements can have a colossal impact, positive or negative, on communities and ecosystems worldwide. In the midst of these discussions, one fact remains unshakable. The engineering behind instant coffee is a marvel. Spray drying uses the force of heated air to create delicate powders in seconds, while freeze drying commands sub-zero temperatures and sublimation to preserve subtler taste notes. The result? A product so easy to prepare that entire cultures have built traditions around it. From busy workplaces where a quick coffee break unites colleagues, to remote areas where fresh coffee beans are inaccessible. In some parts of the world, instant coffee is more of a cultural staple than filtered brews or espresso. People grow up associating that distinctive smell with comfort, routine, and a sense of productivity. Whether it's the bright red label of a Nescafe jar or single-serve packets pulled out of a desk drawer, instant coffee has planted itself firmly in everyday life. As we wrap up this exploration, it's worth asking, how much do we actually know about the products we rely on each day? Most of us see coffee simply as an energizing beverage, maybe a treat to pair with breakfast. Yet, a wave of controversies, scientific innovations, and ethical debates surround every cup. From the initial gleaning of green coffee beans to the final jar that lines grocery shelves, each step is orchestrated for maximum efficiency and consistency. Behind these gleaming machines and elaborate processes, there's a network of farmers, environmental concerns, taste testers, and corporate strategies that keep the wheels turning. It's an intricate world, part tradition, part technology, part global phenomenon. So the next time you scoop some instant granules into a mug, remember how far they've come. Think about the mechanical arms that lifted bags of raw beans, the exacting sensors that judged their moisture, the blazing roasters that sealed in distinct flavor profiles, the freeze-drying corridors chilled to subarctic temperatures, and the team of humans who sipped cup after cup to keep that flavor consistent. Ask yourself whether the convenience, scale, and speed of modern production overshadow the questions about fair trade, environmental impact, or social responsibility. If nothing else, you'll see your morning routine in a whole new light. After all, in the span of a single sip, you're experiencing one of the world's most sprawling supply chains, a testament to both human ingenuity and our endless craving for a reliable caffeine fix. Ultimately, that's the story of how Nescafe instant coffee is made in a factory. A saga of massive scale, precise engineering, and a careful dance between art and science. Each jar is a distillation of months, sometimes years, of agricultural work, global logistics, and technical breakthroughs. Whether you see it as a testament to modern convenience or a reminder of deeper complexities, instant coffee continues to evolve. New methods are tested, new sourcing models are explored, and new debates spark almost daily. And just like the humble coffee bean itself, the story is always growing, ripening, and ready to unfold in the next cup you brew. If so much innovation has already happened to get us from cherry to crystal, imagine where the journey might lead next. Until then, enjoy that instant pick-me-up, but keep an eye on the unfolding developments, because the world of coffee is far from static, and the next chapter may be as surprising as the first.